Today I'll be previewing Martinsville, the 7th race of the chase, and I'm going to be answering a bunch of your comments / questions. Hello and welcome to today's episode. If you don't know already, my name is Eric. It's in the title of half my videos these days, so you should know by now. Today I have a list of your comments. I wrote them down, copied them down from my YouTube on my phone during my chemistry class today. So, yep, I'm probably going to fail at balancing equations, but I'm going to hopefully have a decent video for you today. So, without further ado, since I got a lot of things to talk about, not just your comments, I'm going to be talking about some other things, especially looking forward to Martinsville, which is what's known as the second biggest game changer in the chase. Talladega was last week and it didn't do too much, so now we're looking ahead to Martinsville, where hopefully we'll get a little bit more action. So, I'll start with reading comments. Some of these were left since I didn't do one of these videos last week. Some of these are kind of old, but they're still somewhat relevant, so I'm going to answer them anyways. This one's from NASCAR Race Review. I'm weirdly interested in how many total 164 scale cars I have. Apparently this guy, I'm reading this in long tense. He has over 200, but he wants to know how many I have. So let's see. How many do I have? Well, let's see. I got about 35 for Season 3 with the 2013 cars. Season 1, Season 2 was another like 35 2012 cars. So there's about 70 in there somewhere. I have probably at least 30 or 40 older ones scattered. Some are like 2009, some are like 2003, some are 2006, 2005. I got a lot scattered down there. I'd say I have between 100 and like 115. And then I do have, up just off camera, I have some shelves right here. And I got like a dozen 124 scale cars. So I don't know, how many does that count for? Is that like worth like 164? I don't know. But yeah, so I have a little over 100 164 scale cars, just for those of you who are wondering. I really didn't start collecting them until I started doing my series, because they're expensive, so there really wasn't, I'd buy my favorite drivers, like Matt Kenseth or whoever, I'd buy their cars, but I would not buy the whole set like I've been doing the last year or two. Next question comes from Sports Fanatic 2488. Who's your prediction to win the championship, and who is currently eliminated? Well, I answered a question similar to this a couple weeks ago. I picked Matt Kenseth to win the championship. This was, I don't know, this was three or four weeks ago. I picked Matt Kenseth to win the championship. But I said that Jimmie Johnson was probably the favorite. The only reason I picked Kenseth was probably because I have the sentimental favorite. But in my mind, I do feel like it's the type of year Matt Kenseth will be able to beat Jimmie Johnson. Jimmie Johnson's the favorite, but I just have this feeling that Kenseth's going to pull it out. I hope Kenseth pulls it out. But it's clearly down to the two of them as your top title contestants. Now, that's not to say that guys like Kyle Busch or other guys further just back behind them can catch up, but I think it's going to come down to the 48 and the 20. That relates to another question I'm going to ask, or that I'm going to answer from Kart Racer 56. He asks, "Can you now say it is a two-man race?" I mean, you can say it, and I think it's very true. I mean, nobody is really competing at the same level that Jimmie Johnson and Matt Kenseth have been doing for most of these races so far. I mean, Kyle Busch, Kevin Harvick, Jeff Gordon, they're close, but they've made mistakes that have kind of taken them out. So, yeah, I think no more than one of these three, Busch, Harvick, or Gordon, one of them has a possibility of making a move for the championship. But in the end, I think it's going to mainly come down to Kenseth and Johnson at Homestead. So I would say it's a two-man race, but that's not to say that somebody else can't throw their name into the pot. Another question now from Dr. Savitsky X. Do you think Jamie McMurray will carry this momentum into next year and be a chase contender? If you missed it last week at Talladega, Jamie McMurray was the winner of the race. He is a non-chaser. But he's been close to making the chase in the last couple of years. He's won a few races. He's got 7 career wins, I believe. Most of them come in the last few years. And he's I don't know if I'll say, I think he will be a chase contender. I think that team, Earnhardt Ganassi, they're losing Montoya. He's going back to IndyCar, but then you got Kyle Larson's going to be coming up there, and he's the rookie phenom, that everyone's talking about, possibly could be the next big thing in NASCAR. So I think that team is, in general, on the up, is going in the right direction. So I think Jamie McMurray and maybe even Kyle Larson will be competitive next year. I don't know. I wouldn't put them automatically as like front runners for the chase, especially not Larson. But McMurray, I would not put him right at the top list of the chase contenders. I think Truex, of course, is the guy that's not in the chase right now that probably most deserves it. But McMurray will be in the mix next year. I think he has a very good chance of being a top 15, top 16 guy in points. If he can get a win, maybe two, I mean, there you go. He's in the chase, and that would be nice for him. I like Jimmie McMurray. I hope he makes the chase. Better than having some of these other losers in here. I don't like a few of them. Next question, or this isn't really a question, but this is a comment I read on one of my last videos that kind of just bugged me. It was from Sam McMillan. He says, Austin Dillon's wreck was the craziest wreck that's happened this year. Well, I mean, I'm giving you all a second to think back right now of the craziest wreck that's happened this year to you. I can name two specifically. If you're going just in Sprint Cup, I can name one specifically. It was from the Talladega race over the summer when Kurt Busch flipped on top of Ryan Newman's car and a good dozen cars or so were all handled in the wreck. And I don't know. I mean, yeah, okay, Austin Dillon flipped up on top of Casey Mears, but literally, Kurt Busch did a barrel roll over the top of Ryan Newman's car. So if you forgot that was intense right there. That was a pretty crazy wreck. Another one I can think of, it's not a Sprint Cup, it was nationwide, but it definitely happened this year, was Daytona, Nationwide Series Daytona. I remember Kyle Larson flipped up into the catch fence, and the tires and stuff went out into the crowd, and it was a big deal because a couple of them got injured. Nobody died, at least as far as I can remember, but it was a big brouhaha, I guess. That was a huge crash. There's a bunch of guys involved in that, and even the truck series just this last weekend at Talladega also had a huge wreck at the end of the race when Kyle Busch went for a little bit of a ride. So, yeah, okay, Austin Dillon's wreck was not, sorry dude, but it was not the craziest wreck that's happened this year. There's two cars involved, and only one guy flipped over. I've seen multiple dudes flip over the course of this season. Next one is from a big boy. He was in my series last year, in case you forgot about him. He says, I was at the race and listening to Junior's radio. He said Matt Kenseth's roof flaps were partially open, giving the car more downforce. Cheating. What do you think about that? Well, I don't know. What do I think about that? Well, I was listening to Matt Kenseth's radio the entire race, and he was pissed about his car's handling. He was frustrated as crap. He hated however his car handled, and I think it could have had something to do because he was talking on the radio with his crew chief, Jason Ratcliffe, and they, over the course of the race, after one pit stop specifically, when this car just totally went to crap, it was totally terrible all of a sudden, he asked Ratcliffe, he's like, well, what did you guys do to change it? Did you do anything to change it? And he's like, no, we didn't do anything to change it. This is just, I don't know what's happening. And that could be what he's talking about there. Maybe his roof flap was out of place. But now, if his roof flap was partially open, I don't necessarily think that would have given him more downforce. That creates a drag against the wind. And at our restrictor plate race, that's like the last thing you want, is to have drag, something dragging, hitting the air the way your roof flap would be, and slowing you down consequently. That's not what you want at a super speedway. So if it's cheating, no, it's not cheating, because I can't really think of how it would give him an advantage. It would more hurt him. And but now, in my opinion, I actually like this comment. I'm glad he posted this, because during the race, being a Matt Kenseth fan, I was frustrated. I was like, well, what did they do to his car? Why does he suck all of a sudden? He was leading the race. Why is he terrible now? Well, now, maybe he answered my question for me. His roof flap was messed up. But, I don't know, I didn't notice anything during the race. He obviously passed pre- and post-race inspection, so I don't know. There must not have been a problem, but that might have been what screwed up his car and cost him a chance at a good finish. Last question. I believe this is the last question. Yes, last question I have on my list is from Offhand9. He asks, do you see Martinsville having a lot of cautions, or will it be like Talladega and there will be few cautions? Well, I'm doing that dramatic pause right before I go into every question, because I got to think about this. This is really the first time I've thought about this all day, except maybe chemistry class, but like I said, it was kind of confusing. Anyway, so, yes, I think Martinsville's going to have more cautions than Talladega. Talladega had 3, one of them on the very last lap, so it's barely a caution. Martinsville, I don't think it's going to be crazy. I don't think you're going to see, like I remember, I don't know the exact number, but like 2011, it was about 2 years ago, 2011, the fall race at Martinsville was crazy. There was a crap ton of cautions. That was the race, I always like to joke about, it was the race that Brian Vickers basically got himself fired from Red Bull Racing because he caused like 5 cautions over the course of the race. It was pretty embarrassing, to be honest. But aside from that, that race had a lot of cautions. I think it was like 20 something, if I'm not mistaken. This race won't have that many, I don't think. It'll have somewhere in between. I think it'll have a decent amount of cautions. I think it'll have at least 7 or 8, maybe 10. I don't know. I don't think it'll have a significant number of cautions, but none of them are going to be crazy. You're not going to see like 5-car, 6-car crashes. You're going to see like 1 or 2 guys spinning out of the groove, may not even hit the wall, just spin out, you know. It's Martinsville. It's going to be a lot of beating and banging, a lot of bumping, but not a whole lot of just spinning and totally going out of control wrecking. But it's going to be a fun race this week. I'm partially looking forward to it, and partially dreading it, being a Matt Kenseth fan, like I've mentioned at least a half a dozen times now in this video. But, because Jimmie Johnson, who you all know has a 4-point lead in the standings right now, hopefully you all know that. If you don't, you do now. He's coming into Martinsville, which he has won a lot, 8 races to be exact, and he's basically dominated like the last 4 races. I think he's won 3 of the last 4 or something like that at this racetrack. And it's insane. I mean, I don't know what else to say other than it's very dominant. I remember Jimmie, when I first started watching NASCAR early on, Jimmie Johnson, he basically owned Charlotte Motor Speedway. Back then it was called Lowe's Motor Speedway, which is pretty fitting, you know, Jimmie Johnson, Lowe's. Anyway, so he dominated that track, and it became the house that Jimmie built. And now here we are. He's not as great at Charlotte anymore, but he's a lot better at Martinsville than everyone else, so it's going to be a tough race for me personally to watch, because I'm just going to be sitting there like, don't lose points, because I'm going to be talking to Matt Kenseth in my mind. I'll be like, don't lose points, don't let Jimmie Johnson win. Now, if you watched Monday's video, I did pick Jimmie Johnson to win the race, because I'm trying to be correct, and I do think Jimmie Johnson will win the race. I mean, I think if he's not at the top of your list coming into this weekend, you're kind of stupid, in my opinion. I mean, yeah, Jeff Gordon's good there, yeah, Ryan Newman's good there, yeah, Jimmie Johnson has won the last 2 races there. He's dominated basically the last, like, almost half dozen races there. What makes you think that he's not going to win this race? He's going to have to do something to beat himself, either get caught up in a wreck, or mess up on pit road, or screw up another restart if he wants to lose this race. Because other than that, it's his race to lose. He's going to win unless he beats himself, in my opinion. I don't think there's a lot anyone else can do, except unless, like, Kurt Busch or some other head case comes up and just runs into the back of him and wrecks him. I mean, unless that happens, which I don't think will. But if that happens, unless that happens, Jimmie's going to win the race unless he also blows himself up. So this is being really confusing. I'm not mentioning it. But what I'm just saying is that Jimmie Johnson's the clear favorite coming in. And if he was not going to win the race, it's going to be because he did something to mess himself up. Not because he just had a bad car or, you know, something like that. So that's my episode. This one was not as long as I thought it was going to be. I thought it would be a longer video. But that's about it. I will continuing to do these videos. I'm doing my Monday video every week, and this is my Thursday video. I'm doing that every week until the chase ends. And then, actually probably a little before that, I will be beginning WWE Cup Series Season 3. I can't believe I just screwed that up. It's WWE Cup Series Season 4. My apologies. But that's it. I'm not going to announce signups yet. I'll be announcing the signups. I'm not going to announce the exact date either. I'm going to announce probably, like, it'll be between these 2 days, just because, you know, last year I had, like, 100 comments within the first minute of it being uploaded, and that was insane. I could not believe it. So I'm not going to tell you guys the exact date and time like I've been doing. So just be prepared for that. If you've watched all the way through this video now and you heard what I just said, consider yourself an insider, because you got information others don't have yet. So, good for you. That's my show. I will see you guys again on Monday when I review Martinsville. Hopefully it's a good race. And that's all for me, so see you later.